If you don't go to the subconscious first, you're going to be missing a lot of the process, or the coaching is going to take you much, much longer. This is like kind of a very fast track way to resolve what needs to be resolved so you can actually focus on the coaching and get the best results possible.
83% of Americans identify as not very happy, which can hold you back and negatively affect your relationships and your business. On this podcast, we discuss the proven steps to happiness so you can restore balance and rekindle your joy.
Welcome to another episode of How to Be Happier for Entrepreneurs. Today, we have the Beverly Hills Hypnotist, Tarla, on the show. Welcome, Tarla. How are you?
I am so great. It's nice to see you, Brad. How are you?
I'm awesome. It's a rainy Friday here in Northern Virginia, so this is a perfect time for a podcast. So, Tarla, you and I met a couple years ago, and we've both gone on quite a journey since, helping people, remove these limiting beliefs that are keeping them from whatever. In your case, a lot of wealth or prosperity, and in my case, addiction and depression, anxiety. So, we're going to talk a lot about that today because I know you have some incredible stories and methods and stuff. So, let's just jump right in. The Beverly Hills Hypnotist. What's all that about?
Well, I'm from Los Angeles. This is where I was born and raised. And I, love helping people, but Beverly Hills Hypnotist in particular is really that, I work with people in Beverly Hills, but all over the world. And I want people to know that, no matter what their issue is, that I'm here to serve them, even though it says Beverly Hills Hypnotist. So don't let that intimidate you. But yeah, this is where I'm from.
So, you know this because you probably hear this all the time. When people often get scared of the word hypnosis, and their minds automatically go to when they were in college or wherever they saw the stage performer come, and the guy was chasing around the mice on stage. What is tell us what hypnosis really is, and why shouldn't people be scared of it?
Yeah, that's a great question. You and I know that hypnosis is focused, relaxation, focused meditation, essentially. So it's really turning to your inner self from your outer self. We have distractions in day to day life, right? So we're in our conscious, mind when we're walking around, but our actions are controlled by our subconscious mind, 95% of what we do. So we want to reconnect with our subconscious mind. And it's really simple. People think it's very difficult to do, but it's not. They immediately, go into scenes like you and I both regress people very quickly, and they go in their subconscious mind within really moments of getting into hypnosis because it's such a simple, relaxed, meditative state that doesn't take much effort. It just takes kind of peace and calm and quiet.
So let's dive into this more. Tell us more, like what is going to scenes in their past help them with whatever, and give us an example. Make up one if you have to, or a past client of something that you did and why hypnosis was so integral in that healing.
So, an example of like what will happen when they go back to a scene is
Yeah,
what
and
you're.
why do you do it? Like, how is that part of the healing process?
Oh, yeah. So for me, I believe we have to understand the why. Everyone believes something differently, but I really do truly believe in understanding the why we can make change. So typically during our formative years, from the ages of really from birth to the age of 8, this is when we're like a sponge. We're absorbing everything from people around us, from caretakers to coaches to teachers to siblings to other children to even bullies, unfortunately, right? And we're absorbing everything around us. And that's when our imprint essentially is formed. So when we have problems in our adult life, a lot of it originated in childhood. And that's where we're trying to go back to solve the problem, whatever the problem is. So it can be the smallest, thing that someone said to you. It can seem very inconsequential in the time or even looking back, but even just several words that someone said to you that don't seem super damaging can actually really have a huge impact on the rest of your life.
And how? Tell us how those words. So someone says, a teacher says, "You're never going to amount to anything, Tarla." What does that do? Okay, 6 years old, you hear that. How is that going to cause you to be an alcoholic when you're 30?
Well, that stays on your subconscious mind. So you carry that forward through your whole adult life. Like, I think you said you're never going to amount to anything. So you're thinking subconsciously, not even maybe consciously aware of it. You may not even remember that that teacher said anything to you. You may consciously or may not, but you might think, well, that has nothing to do with this. It does, because they were programming you from a young age to believe you're not worthy. So then you go on later to, I think you said, drink or behave in some destructive way because of the conditioning you had when you're a child. I mean, that's all you knew. These are people that you looked up to. You looked up to the teacher, right? This is an authority figure telling you you're never going to amount to anything. You're a child. You don't know any better. It's not your fault. But this is what you've absorbed in your subconscious mind. It's what's programming you. Just like we program a computer, you're programming your mind at a young age, or other people are.
And what you said, I mean, all this is really interesting stuff. What you said that was really interesting is you might not even know it.
Right.
So what you're saying is the 6-year-old boy could have been told he's not going to amount to anything. He has all of these problems in his life, weight issues, work is all over the place. He drinks too much, and it could all be driven from that teacher who said something. But consciously, he's completely blocked it out of
Right.
his conscious mind, right? But it's always in that unconscious mind, isn't it?
Right. Yeah, you're totally unaware. And this is why people come to us, right? Because we want to uncover what I call the lies. We're uncovering the lies, we're reframing them, and we're transforming them. So people will not even remember, oh my gosh, so and so said this to me, or this happened to me at school when I was a kid, or XYZ. And wow, I didn't realize what a huge impact that had upon me later in life and currently, and why I'm struggling with this issue has to do with that.
Have you had the clients where they're like, "Yeah, my childhood was fine," and then you put them into hypnosis and they give you, an event. I'm 2 years old or 5 years old, and my mother's like threatening to commit suicide, and they're like, "I'd never even remember that."
Yeah, there are definitely people don't remember consciously everything, right? And they sometimes block things out. But yeah, I mean, I think, look, we can all say, not all of us, I'm sorry. Some of us can say, oh, I had this perfect childhood. But what I was going to say, we can all say is that no matter who you are, you're going to have some level of something that went wrong in your life at one point, right? So I could say I had a pretty charmed childhood, but I lost my father, which is pretty huge. Charmed in the fact that my mom was a great parent and I had, a loving mom, but I lost my dad when I was 1. And even if I had not been through that, there are people who may have 2 happy parents. And I've had people tell me this, but no, I've had a perfect childhood. I guarantee you, no one walking on the face of the planet has had perfect anything. It's just impossible. There has to have been someone at some point who said something to you that was negative, that negatively influenced you subconsciously.
Yeah, one of my mentors, Dr. Gabor Mate, says that if you have a childhood you can't remember, it's usually one of two reasons. Number one, it was completely uneventful. Or number two, it was so painful that you've literally blocked memories out. And
Right.
that happens so often, or someone will be 25 or 30 and something will trigger a memory that will be like, oh my gosh, this terrible thing happened to me.
Right.
So if you're sitting there wondering, do I have any of these things from my past that I don't even know about? Do yourself and your family and your business, if you own one, a huge favor and just go to unlocklimitlessyou.com/quiz right now or at the end of this episode and just take 3 minutes to take the self-love quiz. It could unearth something that could literally start you on a journey that could forever change your life and relationships. So, Tarla, what are you doing now? Like, what are you? Obviously, you're doing hypnosis, but are you? Is there a certain type of client that comes to you?
Yeah. So, I love doing hypnosis for anyone, no matter what the issue is, but I love to focus on peak performance or high performance hypnotherapy for entrepreneurs, C-level executives, athletes. For me, it's really, I love helping people get to the next level. So it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter how much success you've had, we still can have blocks to get to the next level. Everybody on the face of the planet, why I love this is everyone on the face of the planet wants to get to the next level, always wants to have more success, more wealth. And you can do good things with that. It's not only about serving ourselves, but the more income you create, you can actually more positively impact other people in the world, by doing, different charitable acts, right? I mean, there's different things you can do with that money. So that's why I love it. And also because part of my story was about how I used my mind to get to the next level. And that's why it's a very near and dear area to my heart.
How did you use your mind? What is that all about?
Yeah, so once back in the day, I was a copywriter working in a marketing agency. It was my second job. I wanted to leave. I knew I was meant for more. I had started working out as a copywriter for $33,000 a year. And now at this point, I was like, I think I went from 44 to 55, but still, I was the one doing all the work in this agency. So this was before The Secret. This was before that movie. I don't know where I came up with this, but I said, let me record affirmations in my own voice. There was no hypnosis. And I used a tape and I put it in my car and I drove to work and back saying, I'm a freelance copywriter earning. I think there was a book called How to Be a Freelance Copywriter and Earn 85,000 or $85,000 a year. Now it's updated to 100,000. But I said, freelance copywriter earning $85,000 a year. I'm a successful freelance copywriter. I kept repeating those affirmations. I listened to it to work and on the way back. And, I knew it was possible because of the title of this book. It was possible. That was evidence that I could do that. And again, don't know where I got this idea. I wish I remembered, but essentially that created a massive career for me. I ended up quitting. Um, Long story boring. I ended up, going from this low salary to a seven-figure brand as a writer. And, most writers are starving writers. And I, superseded all that. And the thing is, it wasn't hypnosis, but hypnosis takes all of that to an entirely different level. And if I was able to do that alone with affirmations, you can only imagine what you can do with hypnosis because that just skyrockets the results in a dramatic way.
So that's an awesome story and congratulations. And for the person listening that says, well, if I'm making 60 grand, I'm going to make $1 million or 500,000. Can I just start doing affirmations? What would you say to that?
Yeah, I say, look, it's a good place to start. But the thing is, and I'm glad you asked this question, I had very deep self belief at the time. Despite losing my father, which I mentioned earlier, my mom was constantly, you're the best, you're the smartest, you're the prettiest, you're the greatest. Basically, if she was here today, she would tell me I'm the GOAT. I know she would be saying that. She was amazing. And so I had a really deep self belief. But a lot of people are lacking that. And there's been times in my life where I haven't fully had that. But at that stage, I really had this deep self belief where the affirmations were enough. However, a lot of people are going to have this feeling that they're not enough and they're going to feel that they're lacking in some way. There's going to be a deeper root cause. And trust me, there have been times since then where obviously I've needed hypnosis. That's how I even became a hypnotherapist. So if you really want to take things to the next level and get out of just a conscious state, because, affirmations are only in your conscious mind, and you want to go to your subconscious, that's when you need hypnosis. So the affirmations only work if you already have that immensely deep self belief. That's why they don't work for a lot of people. They're great, but they're not going to fully work for most people. And in my case, they did, but
Wow.
that's not always the case. Yeah.
That's really well said. I say I just said this on a podcast, I think yesterday or the day before. Like that's or actually it was on our weekly group coaching call. We do a mastermind call with all of our clients. And someone asked the difference between affirmations and manifestations. And I told them that. And I said, you can't just that's why the Zig Ziglars and the Tony Robbins stuff don't always work. Because if you go there with lack of self-love and this poor self-image that you may or may not even know you have because it could be buried in your subconscious mind, and you try to do these affirmations every morning saying, I'm great, I'm going to make a lot of money. But your subconscious mind, like mine was for 47 years, is yelling, you're not smart, you're not good, you're not worthy. It's freaking impossible because I was that guy. I listened to Tony Robbins, I went to Zig Ziglar, and I always wanted more. But it wasn't until I did the deep work. Exactly what you just said. Like I'm living proof. I did the deep work, and then all the affirmations and manifestations and everything just literally rocketed me to a whole nother level.
Yeah, yeah, you have to clear out kind of that junk, right? So then when you have a clear, blank slate to work from, right? Not totally blank slate, but you know what I'm saying. And look, I love Tony Robbins. I'm actually in his program to become a master coach, and he's great. But what people don't understand is the hypnosis comes before the coaching, right? So if you want to coach, you should go through hypnosis first because you want to get rid of all those subconscious layers that aren't serving you, and then you want to do the conscious work and marry them together. But if you don't go to the subconscious first, you're going to be missing a lot of the process, or the coaching is going to take you much, much longer. This is like kind of a very fast track way to, resolve what needs to be resolved so you can actually focus on the coaching and get the best results possible.
I've had so many clients, and you probably have too, that said, Brad or Tarla, like I went through all this tone, I went through all this self-help and nothing worked. I knew what I should be doing, but I couldn't do it until I went through hypnosis with you. Because again, they released that stuck limiting belief of, hey, you can't do it no matter what your conscious mind is telling you.
Yeah.
So let's go back to your clientele because I want the listeners to understand John comes in, Sally comes in, she has this problem. What do you do exactly? And then what does Sally or John walk out? And is it 2 years from now? Is it 2 days from now? How does this whole process work?
Definitely not 2 years. Um, so basically, well, when someone comes to you, right, I'm very thorough. So we have different, a couple calls, right, to really understand if this is a perfect match. So we want to go through a few things. And then, once they come to me, there is an intake process and we go through the session. In the session, what essentially happens, if this is what you're asking, we're going back to the childhood scenes, right? We're going back to scenes in their life. Some people don't go back to childhood. They might go back to 5 years ago. It's just varies for everyone. And so we're going back to scenes that have to do with whatever the main issue is. For instance, if it's wanting to get to the next level and they can't get to the next level in terms of wealth, we're going back to scene that has to do with that issue. And so we go to three scenes. And then there's a lot of other things, as you and I know, that we do in an actual session, depending on what the client needs, right? So there's a lot of different tools and resources we can use. But once we go to those scenes, that's where people start to develop the understanding. And we don't piece it together for them, but they piece it together. We're just the guide. They piece it together. Oh, wait, they have an aha moment between this and this and this. Oh, yeah, that's the connector. And then when we understand, okay, this is what the issue was, we reframe that. We reframe that from a negative experience into a positive experience, really. And then we send them on their way with a transformation recording. We transform all of it. They listen to that for 21 to 30 days to imprint that in their mind. Because as Marisa Peer, our mentor, loves to say, the brain learns by repetition, right? Because of neuroplasticity. So anything we repeat, we're forming those connectors that are, teaching us a different way than what we used to think.
So tell us about an actual client that you've had success with.
Yeah. So in terms of the kind of high performance, peak performance, and wealth, my area that I love to focus on, for instance, I had a client who came in very as similar to what you were saying. So had tried all the things, right? Had tried the affirmations, had tried the coaching, had even tried other modalities. And look, I love all the modalities. So I think they're all great. But had, even tried things as breath work, tried all the things and had some little movement, right? But it wasn't that breakthrough. And it was really interesting. And of course, for confidentiality reasons, I won't get into major specifics, even without mentioning a name. But this person in the session really had a breakthrough moment that, I witnessed right there, like an absolute shedding of this old limiting belief that was tied to her parents and them having some businesses that ended up having issues. The businesses actually essentially dissolved. And her, even though having had this previous major success, having that in her mind was always something that kind of stopped her from getting to the next level. And so she was able to have this massive breakthrough. And again, just almost like a shedding right in the middle of the session that I witnessed that just happened spontaneously after going through our work. And she ended up within 3 weeks, literally nearly tripling her revenue. I mean, so if you think about how is that even possible? People said to me, how could that even be? Because you're removing subconscious blocks. That's really all that it is. Once you remove that, the floodgates open.
Incredible. Yeah, I had a guy, actually a client with a testimonial on my website that said, he didn't come to me for money, he came to me for overwhelm. And he's like, 6 months later, I did the analysis and I doubled my income. The beautiful thing about doing this work, and you've done it over and over and over again, is that people come to you with a problem, right? I can't get to the next level. I have anxiety. I have depression. I drink too much. And then they have that aha moment and then everything else turns in their life. It's not it's amazing because this one thing that's holding you back, don't ever think that it's not going to hold you back from all the areas. So if you take that self-love quiz that I mentioned earlier at unlocklimitlessyou.com/quiz and you get lack of self-love, I promise you, every single area of your life is being negatively affected. I don't know to what degree, but every your relationships, your health, your business, you name it, your spirituality. The beautiful thing is that in a very short time, it doesn't take us years or decades, does it? In a very short time, a matter of weeks, I have taken so many clients from lack of self-love to extreme self-love, and then everything changes. And I know you're a big believer of the self-love. Talk a little bit about self-love, if you would, Tarla.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think self-love is the root of it all, truly. Like, because if you think about it, whether it's wealth or relationships or wellness, if you don't love yourself, if you don't think you're worthy, you're not going to have success in all these areas. How can you be wealthy when you feel like you're not deserving of it? How can you have a successful relationship when you feel like you're not deserving of it? How can you have good health when you feel like you're not deserving of it? And in ways people can punish themselves when they feel that they don't have, self-love, or they can protect themselves in a weird way. So it's strange. How would that be protecting myself? Well, this is because this is a limiting old idea that you had. And at the time, you thought you were protecting yourself. You thought you were doing something good for yourself. But in essence, you were really hurting yourself and punishing yourself. So I'm with you on that. I totally agree with you with what you said too, that people have those revelations in other areas, and really it up levels their self-love too.
I mean, this worked to me. I've never found anything more fascinating in my life. And you said something that made me remember that protection, right? All of the negative behavior in your life is actually your brain protecting you from something that it thinks is worse. But
Yeah.
when you do the work, you always find out that that thing that you're scared of, that you think you're being protected from, is, like you said, an untruth, typically from childhood. It's like people, there's a manual, right? A psychology manual that has, like, I don't know, hundreds of diagnoses, disorder this and disorder that. And I'm a believer with some folks, there's no disorder. Your brain's actually doing what it thinks it should be doing. But as soon as you can bring that to the conscious, excuse me, then everything changes, right?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think that um what you said was very powerful, and I hadn't heard it phrased that way. About there is no disorder, it's really you, it is you protecting yourself, right? But it's almost a lack of orderly thinking disorder, right, in your mind.
Yeah, it's your brain processing information in the wrong way. That's it. Not a single person in this world was ever born with depression or anxiety, despite what doctors may tell you to get you on drugs. No one was born with it. So it happened along the way. So if it happened along the way and you didn't have it, we can help you get back to where you don't have it. And I believe hypnosis and getting into the subconscious mind is one of the best ways on the planet.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And unfortunately, it's a last resort for a lot of people because people don't know a lot about it, or they're scared of it. And so they do all the things, right? And then finally it's the last stop. So I wish for more people it was more of the first stop, because it could save them from years of doing other things that may not get them the same result. And look, there's all great modalities out there. And I will say, I'm not a therapist, I'm a hypnotherapist. There is a time, obviously, to see psychologists and doctors. That's their field. We're not that. But this is a great addition, to that, to really get you to the next level.
Yeah, you're looking at someone who spent 30 years on and off in therapy and marriage counseling sessions, and in one 3 hour session, it wasn't actually hypnosis, but it was very close. In that one 3 hour session, Tarla, I made exponentially more progress, excuse me, than those 30 years of going to therapy. So how did you get into this line of work? You went from a copywriter to a hypnot. How did that happen?
Yeah, well, I took a few steps in between. So I went from a copywriter to like an online marketer. So I was in the online digital space, and in the online digital space, it's all about self-development. We're always looking to learn about mindset, right? Because mindset is key in having a successful business. So then I got into coaching, and I actually knew someone from B School, which is Marie Forleo's online course, who was a hypnotherapist through Marisa Peer. And that's when I first ever learned about Marisa Peer. And, then I just started, getting served her ads on Facebook because I was talking about her. And then I saw this event that you and I met at in Los Angeles. I thought, this is around the corner from where I live. If I don't go now, I don't want to fly to go somewhere. It's coming right here. I have to go to that. And that's how I ended up going. But it was because I knew intrinsically I needed that I knew that there was another step for me that went beyond all the work I'd done, that was going to be like, I just knew it. You know, when you know in your bones, that was going to be the answer for me. And there's nothing like having someone speak positivity into you. I mean, that's what I love about my job. I'm sure the same for you. Like, we speak positivity into people, and there's nothing with like having someone tell you that you can do all the things you want to do and that you are doing them in present tense. It just feels so good to hear that myself and for other people to hear that.
So did you go to the event in LA where we met knowing that this was going to be your life's work the rest of your life?
Yeah, I mean, I knew it wasn't like a thing that I was gonna do in addition to. I said, "Okay, this is it. This is what I'm gonna do." I was going to kinda keep the online business, and I did for a little bit, and I said, "No, it's just the hypnotherapy. I love doing this. I love talking to people. I love seeing them have these awakenings, feeling better, like, what we can help them do. It just feels so good. I wanna focus exclusively on this."
What was the moment of your journey that you woke up or said to yourself, "Oh, this is it. This is what I was meant to do."
I mean, gosh, I feel like it happened right there when we were at that live event, with Marissa, and seeing her like almost it felt like magically in front of your very eyes when we were witnessing her with, students who had really severe cases, that she was just from, 2 hours ago to 2 hours later, she was like transforming their lives. I mean, they're the ones actually doing the work, but through her mastery, right there, this is epic. Like, I have to do this. It just feels like a very powerful way to contribute to the world. And, Tony Robbins, who we talked about earlier, has six human needs he talks about, and the two higher ones are growth and contribution. And that's where I score when I take that test. And I'm in that phase of my life. I was in the creative work, in the copywriting, and the which I still love all that stuff, and the fit modeling, and um, all the things, right? Shoe design. But this is kind of like a full circle moment. I, entered college pre-med, I changed my mind, and I'm back in that service mode where I want to just serve other people and help them.
So for the person out there that's suffering or struggling or can't get to the next level or is, depressed, what advice, knowing everything that you know now, would you give them?
Yeah, if you are can't get to the next level, or you feel like, there's something missing or lacking, or you're not totally happy with your life, right? Because this podcast is all about happiness. Go back to the root cause. What is actually causing that? And to go back to the root cause, that's what we do in hypnosis. You have to understand, in my opinion, you have to understand where that's coming from, because otherwise you're going to just use band-aids like you talked about. You're going to use alcohol, you're going to use drugs. And look, there are times for again, with your doctor to be on medication, there are times that you have to leave that to a doctor. However, in the worst case scenarios, if this is, mild discontent or moderate, and this is something that, you feel like could be improved by going back to the root cause, this is what I would suggest that you investigate, because that's really where it all comes from.
Love it. What's the greatest lesson that you've learned in your life?
The greatest lesson, well, for me, it's resilience. And I think that that ties in here. In order to be happy, you have to look at situations in your life that weren't positive to you, that were negative, that were maybe tragedies even, and you have to find a way to reframe them. Turn your pain into purpose. Turn a breakdown into a breakthrough. Turn a setback into a setup. You have to find a way, and you have to, in my opinion, you don't have to, but I would suggest you share that with the world. Share that with other people. People feel alone. They feel like it's only them. They're only ones going through certain things. Share that story with other people so that they can see that this too is possible for them and they're not alone.
Don't you think that sharing your story is a great way for you to heal yourself as well?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think in sharing your story, it can be cathartic, but I also think we have to be careful in that it's not like a trauma, a dump. It's not like we're trying to really, you know what I mean? We're not projecting that onto other people. I think, like, you don't have to be fully healed to share your story by any means. I just think you have to share it in a way that uplifts other people, where it's not a downer, right? So we're sharing it. Hey, I've been through all this. Yeah, this wasn't positive, but I made this change and this is what happened. And I was able to do this and you can too, or we're able to get to the next level. We only have to do XYZ and we can make it there. You know what I mean? I think it's the way that you frame it.
Because I know in our weekly mastermind sessions, I've had some of these clients actually tell the group like what they figured out in hypnosis. And by saying that, they literally like, oh my gosh, like that was the biggest release ever because I was able to articulate it to a group of people and there was some magic in there. So, yeah, when I talk about story, I tell my story all the time. It's not like I go back to my trauma. I usually say, here are the bad things that resulted from my trauma. And now here's how they're so different. And oh, by the way, you can do the same thing. We all can. In literally a matter of hours or weeks, your life can be completely changed. If you're the one saying, oh, I've tried everything, you haven't tried everything. If you haven't tried hypnosis and you haven't tried some of the techniques that we use. So, Tarla, this has been amazing. How do people reach you if they're interested in connecting with you?
Yeah, thank you so much for your time today. They would go to the beverlyhillshypnotist.com. So make sure you put the in front, the beverlyhillshypnotist.com. Go to my contact page and fill out that form, or you can call or text the phone number there and we can get in touch and have, a little discussion and see if hypnosis is right for you. And yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tarla. That concludes another episode of How to Be Happier for Entrepreneurs. Remember, I'm on a mission to help 1 million people remove these limiting beliefs so that you can live the life that you so deserve. So I can't do this alone. I can't help 1 million people. So please, if you like this content, if you like this episode, share it, rate it, review it, whatever. If you know someone struggling, send them this thing and say, you don't have to struggle. There's hope. Reach out to Tarla, reach out to myself, but just know there is hope. Don't give up hope. You're not put in this world to suffer. I promise you're put in this world to live a joyous, deeply connected relationships and really enjoy life. So until next time, love heals all.
Hit subscribe if you don't want to miss out on more life-changing content. And if you're struggling, you don't have to. Go to bradchandler.com/contact. There, you can join the Facebook community of like-minded entrepreneurs, and you'll see a button to schedule your freedom and happiness call. See you on the next episode.